Sunday Debate with Arnab Goswami. Powered by Ola.
At Republic, we believe that the role of the media is only to support the lockdown. The role of the media, I repeat, is not to crib, but to support the lockdown. The role of the media is not to galvanize people on the borders, but to support the lockdown. The role of the media is not to put some unknown experts from Washington who wouldn't say anything about what's happening in the US, but say that 300 to 500 million Indians will be affected by May. That's not the role of the media. The role of the media is to play a national role. The role of the media at this point of time is not to be paranoid. And therefore, yesterday we saw how the crowds in Anand Vihar in Delhi mostly returned today, but yesterday it was a horrific situation, and I'm sorry to say that a large section of the media was responsible for what was being played out as the exodus of the poor. This is not the time for the media to earn $500 a piece in a Washington-based rag. This is the time for the media to stand up for the nation. Today, the Indian Oil chairman, Sanjeev Singh, has assured there is no fuel crisis in Indians. There is more than enough fuel to last beyond the lockdown period. So we have the fuel, we have the money, we have the food. We will last, but the media can spoil it all. If sections of the media don't support the lockdown entirely and wholly and play out of sync with the national sentiment, then the media will be responsible, not for the lockdown ending, but for the lockdown having to be extended. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the role of the media? I believe the media should be for the lockdown, which is reflective in the hashtag today. And on the debate today, I have Sambit Patra, Smita Prakash, Shahid Siddiqui, Praful Ketkar. I have Tanveer Ahmed, Saira Shah Halim, Rahul Singh and Ashish Khaitan on both sides. I have 7 motions. We've seen the Prime Minister's speech. My first question today is, what is the role of the media in making the lockdown 100% effective? I'll just begin by saying this, and then I'll hand it over. We've seen what the Prime Minister said, viewers. The Prime Minister has pleaded to the people of India repeatedly. He has said, "Ghari mein raho," not once, not twice, but thrice in his 8 p.m. address on 24th March. Today he said, "Lockdown ka niyam todenge to coronavirus se bachna mushkil ho jayega." Since then, I'm glad to say some have abided by the lockdown, some have shrugged it off, and some have not even been given the correct information. The media has become a very potent tool now to enlighten people on the dangers of the coronavirus, on the desperate need for a 100% lockdown, but unfortunately, certain sections have used it to build a narrative that is counterproductive to the well-being of our nation. Certain media persons have egged on migrant workers to leave cities. They've encouraged migrant workers to leave cities. They have lied about how this shows the rich-poor divide. They have spread paranoia about how a 100% lockdown will mean their doom. So what is the role of the media? Let me start by inviting Tanveer Ahmed on what you think the role of the media should be. Tanveer, please open the debate. You are on the side today with Saira Shah Halim, Rahul Singh and Ashish Khaitan.
Arnab, as you rightly said, that the role of media is to ensure that this lockdown is totally going to be successful. But also the role of media would also be to ensure that there is going to be a right message which is communicated to the people of India. The role of media is not only confined to praise the government. The role of media would also be to hold government accountable if government is really failing in certain areas, which they are absolutely failing. What happened yesterday in Anand Vihar certainly needs to be reported, but responsibly. At this juncture, I am a believer that, we don't need to condemn, criticize, but we have to cooperate, coordinate, and clear the confusion. That's exactly the role of media, and every responsible citizen of this country got to be. But as you rightly said, that there are certain sections of media which are really creating fear, but there is also a certain section of media who is doing nothing but praising Mr. Narendra Modi. I think there has to be a balanced step between both this, and we need to really give a correct picture to the people of this country to make them responsible to fight this pandemic called coronavirus.
Thank you very much. If you mentioned the fact about Anand Vihar, before Sambit responds, let me say this, that not one of the people there who were egging the people on to leave the cities and who suddenly started weeping for the poor people who have nowhere to stay, not one of those people, not one of those freelance journalists told the people who were wanting to walk away from Delhi, one, that they were breaking the lockdown, B, that they were endangering themselves, C, that they were therefore contributing to a possible increase in coronavirus cases. I actually was absolutely stunned to see not one person among those opportunist journalists made that simple point. It was shocking to me. Sambit is responding right now. Viewers, tell us what you think the role of the media will be, and I'll carry it on. Sambit.
Thank you, Arnab, for inviting me. And it's a calm Sunday, and it's the first time that we're not having a shouting match. This is quite welcoming. And let me thank you, let me thank Smita Prakash. You both being media people, the kind of work that you have been doing is something which is extremely important these hours of need. And let me tell you, media just does not mean the electronic media. Media also means for a large proportion of people. And this day when we are locked down, the WhatsApp, the social media, all these are adding to what the information inflow should be. And remember, just because we are in the lockdown, the only source of information is the various modalities of media. So a responsible media, a positive media, not a pessimist media, an optimistic media is what is the need of the hour in this country today. And let me tell you, I was aghast when I saw through the social media one of the journalists writing for a foreign daily, for a foreign waste newspaper, that most of India would die because of poverty before even corona catches up. This is irresponsible journalism. I would please beg to differ from what some of these journalists have written. Please, let's not spread panic. For God's sake, we are not going to die of poverty. This country is a very responsible country. Our government, whichever government it is, in your state it may be a Congress government, in this state it may be a different government, somewhere it may be a BJP government. Every government is a responsible government. Each one of these government is doing their best to see to it that the people don't die. People are not hungry. Every NGO is trying to work its way towards the needy people to feed them. Every political party is working positively. So please, let's not spread canards. And let me tell you an instance of my house today. Today in the morning, suddenly one of the members of my house came running to me with a WhatsApp video. Look, somewhere, what is happening in India? People are dying on the street because of coronavirus. And I know this is not the video of India. This is a video probably of some other country. This lady appears to be an Iranian. So please, let's not spread any kind of panic, any kind of falsity. So I firmly believe that we all need to stay away from falsity. We need to spread blessings, good news, and positivity through media.
Let me give you an example to take this forward. A particular Hindi news channel says, Shahid Siddiqui, घरों में रामायण, सड़कों पर भूख से महाभारत, बुलंद भारत की बदनसीब तस्वीर, showing the pictures of Anand Vihar. देश में 19 करोड़ लोग आज भूखे पेट सोएंगे. Now, you mentioned Anand Vihar. I will take the debate forward, and I wanted to debate this. Nobody answered today, Shahid Siddiqui. Not one person today, Shahid Siddiqui, answered my question. That when those reporters suddenly got out of their Lutyens' homes and started walking with few people, which is the easiest kind of reporting you can do. You can just go get that shot in 5 minutes, put it on your Twitter feed, and say, I have done the greatest bit of reporting. Then put an attractive headline to it and sell it for $1,000 saying, reporting from the world's greatest lockdown. You're selling a story. But the question was, Shahid Siddiqui, you've been a journalist. Was it not the responsibility of the journalist to highlight that this sort of panic exodus will contribute to the failure of the lockdown, and hence, by default, to the spread of COVID-19? Now I'm being told by some people, oh, that's not our responsibility. We are reporters. They say, we couldn't care less. We are telling a story. What story, Shahid Siddiqui? Half a story. Isn't it the role of the media, Shahid Siddiqui, to refuse to condone the lockdown violators in their coverage by building sympathy for them?
Arnab,
or instead disseminate information where there is no panic?
Arnab,
to tell these people that they are being misled to go to Anand Vihar in the first place. Shahid Siddiqui.
Arnab, these are unprecedented times, and none of us was prepared for what we are seeing today. So let's not blame anybody. All of us are to be blamed, and all of us are responsible. But I think the most important role of the media today is to educate. And there we all have to play the role. Unfortunately, our media has been focusing mainly on the middle class. We have not been trying to educate the people on the street, the common people, the villagers, the people living in shanties, 10 people living in one room. We have to educate them, we have to tell them, we have to explain to them in their language. Like, अगर मैं कहूं कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग वो नहीं समझता है, मैं अगर उसको कहूं कि सामाजिक शारीरिक दूरी बनाइए, आप एक शरीर से दूसरे शरीर का फासला रखिए 2 गज का, तो उसकी समझ में आएगा. सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को वो समझता है कि शायद डांस करने जाना मना है, और क्या क्लबिंग इज नॉट अलाउड. सो वी हैव टू create new idioms, new language to go to the people, and I'll request all the media houses, all the journalists to make small, pieces which can go through social media to the common man, through broadcast media, radio, anything, use anything to go to the common man on the street, because the middle class understands what the threat is. Middle class is ready. They have the houses, they have the privilege. But the man on the street, people who live in jhopdis, jhuggis, slums, they are not ready for it. They never stayed in one room for 24 hours, because 20 people can't stay in one room. They have to go out. So we have to find ways of explaining it to them, and to find ways of, providing, solutions to them. And the media has to take their voice to the authorities, and the authorities' concerns to the people. So we have to play the role of the medium between the common man and the authorities.
No, it wasn't not the job. No, let me put it to you this way.
Every moment.
Some people say, what is the media's job? I put it to Smita, and I'm opening the debate. Let's get somebody from the other side also. What is the media's job? The media's job, if you're seeing 10, 20, 30, 40 migrant workers walking, you have to go and ask them, why are you walking away? 99% would tell you it is because they think the lockdown is for 3 months. You know that? The job of the media then, Saira, was to go to the migrant laborer and say, no, you are wrong. The lockdown is not for 3 months.
Okay.
No, it is not for 3 months. But nobody among those people who were cheering on those who were doing the exodus said, you've got wrong information with you. We will tell you the right information. Even if one person would have gone back, it would have helped. Now the media says, looking at some sections of the media, say that is not our job, that is Modi's job. Let Modi tell these people it's for 3 months. It's for 21 days, 3 weeks and not 3 months. Misinformation is being spread, Saira. Misinformation. And a certain section of the media is building a narrative to suit themselves. Certain publications on 25th March wrote, and I quote, coronavirus lockdown, Narendra Modi has cut India's poor adrift. Almost echoing Prashant Kishore, who on the same day surprisingly was tweeting, with the shaky preparedness to deal with the COVID crisis and very little to safeguard the poor, we are staring at tough days ahead. How come Prashant Kishore's line is exactly that of the fake scrolls and liar wires? You think people don't see through it? Saira, but opportunist viewers. Those who are opportunists today will be punished later by the people of India. Saira, we see it. The role of the media is to steer away from false sensationalism. If you are doing the usual Shaheen Bagh kind of lies now, you are doing anti-national activity. If you do the Shaheen Bagh kind of lying now, you are working against us, against people's interests. Saira.
See, Arnab, this is not the time for anyone, any media to engage in any communal diatribe.
No.
Firstly,
Why
they
was
have to
this
do
done?
correct and scientific
Why were
reporting
lies leading up to Anand Vihar done?
About whatever
Why
is
was
happening.
it done? I'm sorry, you need to answer my question.
See, what I'm
Why
trying to
was the
say,
wrong
Arnab,
narrative given out?
The media's
Why
job,
was the wrong
media's
narrative,
job is
false
to
information
hold
and fake
people
news spread leading up to Anand Vihar?
It's also to portray positive stories. The media's job is to portray positive stories to basically keep everyone afloat, because it can be really demoralizing, Arnab, and anyone can have a panic attack. I mean, reading these stories on WhatsApp 24/7, it can really pull one's spirit down, because there's so many doomsday, sayers who are actually saying that the world is, falling apart and, is going to be like, like Qayamat and all that. So I feel we don't need to actually, read too much, because there's
Okay, I'll tell you a direct thing. What is your comment on the following? One minute. What is your comment on the following piece? I think I'll have to name some people. The Wire, March 26th, Smita, it says in the tweet, the Delhi NCR region is witnessing an exodus of daily wage earners whose livelihoods have screeched to a halt because of COVID-19. Siddharth Vardarajan speaks to a group that plans to walk to Allahabad. They have no faith in the stimulus package announced by Nirmala Sitharaman. Wonderful. So Siddharth Vardarajan decides to walk with 5 people and put out a narrative that nobody has any faith in Nirmala Sitharaman's package. My question to you is in your view, is this responsible reporting? I'm asking you, is this responsible reporting?
To be absolutely balanced.
Is this responsible reporting? I'm asking you again.
We cannot deny the fact that
no, don't deny. Smita. No, we have to define it.
The Masahar community were eating.
May I come in?
Smita is on 1 minute. Smita is countering now. Smita. No, I'm saying Siddharth Vardarajan speaks to a group of people that plan to walk to Allahabad. They have no faith in the stimulus package announced by Nirmala Sitharaman.
Were eating grass and they were hungry.
May I come in, please?
In Modi ji
we are. No.
Varanasi. Can we camouflage the news?
Yeah.
Smita.
There's camouflaging of the news is something which happens very often in this country. So let's not talk about that. It happens in newspapers, it happens in channels. Now, just a point that I wanted to make, I kind of agree with what Shahid Siddiqui said, that, this social distancing or physical distancing is something which is a luxury for the poor. It's something that middle class understands and have listened to what Mr. Modi said, and he appealed to them. They have agreed to it, even though Mr. Modi a short while ago apologized and said, mangta hu for this lockdown and the troubles that this lockdown has caused for people, but he said it was necessary and people understand that. There are few violators, yes, and they will be violators for any law, but as far as the maximum people are concerned, they have agreed. But when it comes to the poor, here I kind of disagree with you, Arnab, and I hope you appreciate my point of view also, that when reporters go out there on the roads and they are reporting, I'm talking about the junior ones, I'm not talking about the motivated big league anchors or anybody like that, just the ordinary.
And I'm not talking about reporters, I'm talking of the quote-unquote Lutyens big league.
Common people.
No, but I'm talking about the Lutyens big league.
Yeah, may I just complete? So, when I get that. So, when the reporters go there and they ask them questions and say, aap wapas jaiye, they have walked 30, 40
I am not asking for that, Smita.
On an
I am not asking for that.
They're not going to go back.
No, Smita, may I intervene? 1 minute. Smita, let me ask you. Let me 1 minute. Just 1 minute and I'm coming back to you. See, Smita, please understand what I'm saying. I am not talking of a reporter questioning somebody on the ground. I am talking about a narrative to suit a certain cabal. I am saying that the media, the what you call the big league, the editors, the Lutyens, the socialite journalists and the non-socialite journalists, do they have a responsibility to contribute to the success of the lockdown, or do they not? If I am told today they do not, then I counter it.
Yeah, so here...
Arnab, a few seconds.
And one second. We are talking about inferences. I allow one more point. We talk here about inferences. Reporters don't draw inferences. The quote-unquote editors, plus I would say the ex-editors and the ex-journalists who now don't have a job, maybe they are drawing inferences. Now tell me, Smita, any one of them goes, takes 2 sound bites and says, India's poor are set adrift. It's silly beyond measure. No, 1 minute. Do they report that the Food Corporation of India has enough food to feed the poor of the country even if there is a prolonged shutdown? Well, they won't mention that. If you ask them, why don't you mention that? Well, we are going to be selective about it. Why are you going to be selective about it?
Also understand that when you're walking on the highway and you're walking with daily wagers, you think they even know what a stimulus package is. No, they don't. They want that aadhe kilometer pe please put up a tent and give me food.
Okay,
give me
then
a
tell
bus
me.
which will take me
then
to
tell
my
me.
hometown.
Okay, then I want to know. Then I want to know. Then I want to know by which. By which. No. Then I want to know by which magical construct does any journalist from any publication walk with a few people on the road and decide that the people on the road do not believe in Nirmala Sitharaman's stimulus package? Do they know?
I just want to come in.
Do they know the details?
Exactly
of
what I said. That
so
they
then
don't
why
know.
draw this inference?
So to extrapolate that is extremely
my
wrong.
point.
It's wrong to extrapolate that.
That is my point.
Say that anybody knew on the road
Shahid Siddiqui,
when they
they
were
have no
going
idea.
back home. Absolutely
they
wrong
have
to
no
say that
idea, but then you are
Food Corporation of
but
India
then if
mein
they have no
hai,
idea,
food is not reaching.
but Shahid Siddiqui, listen,
Food is
Shahid
not
Siddiqui,
reaching the
listen,
people.
Shahid Siddiqui, if they have no idea
They
which is
want it
possibly
now,
true.
here, now.
No. Let me put it this way, Shahid to you, Shahid bhai to you, Shahid bhai to you, Shahid bhai to you, listen to me. This is a live edition of the debate.
Nizamuddin, you come to my area.
Shahid Siddiqui, listen to me. One line question to you.
One
line question to you. What I want to know, if you are aware that the people walking do not know, leave alone, they don't know whether there is a bus at the end of their journey. Now, on top of it, you are asking them, do you believe in Nirmala Sitharaman's stimulus package? They couldn't care less at that point of time because they already been fed enough information.
I said educate.
No, but.
I said educate. I said educate. Or educate in the language of the people.
But you know what is cruel about it?
What is quarantine?
No, Shahid Siddiqui, but you know what's cruel about it? But Shahid Siddiqui.
Understand quarantine. We are speaking, media is speaking to the middle class.
Correct.
Media is not speaking to the common
Then in that
man.
case,
Media is explaining to the middle class, to the educated.
Okay, then tell me.
Not to the common man.
Now,
and therefore we need to go to the common man.
Then tell me one thing.
Their language.
Then tell me one thing yesterday. No, I'll tell you. I'll share one thing with you. I'll share. Shahid Siddiqui.
We are worried about our families and about our friends. We are not worried about Bharat. Bharat की बात कीजिए आप. भारत परेशान है. ये reality है.
Perfect. Now tell me, शाहिद सिद्दीकी, एक चीज बोलूंगा, भारत की बात आपने कही, तो मैं एक चीज आपको जरा उदाहरण देना चाहूंगा, एक चीज छोटी सी कहूंगा, एंड डिबेट के लिए टाइम है 1 मिनट, एक बात कहूं. You see, I'll tell you one thing. I am Shahid Siddiqui, 1 minute. Shahid Siddiqui, 1 minute. 1 minute, please, everyone. 1 minute. I accuse these sections of the media of using isolated groups of migrant laborers as props.
This is not the time to accuse.
No, listen to me, Shahid Siddiqui. Listen to. I draw an inference now. If you are, Shahid Siddiqui, 1 minute.
Don't accuse people.
Shahid Siddiqui, I'm saying tonight that if there are people out there who are trying to shoot off the shoulders of migrant laborers who have got wrong information, then I say Praful Ketkar is on the debate. Then you are using the migrants as props to build a narrative. And that is extremely careless at a time like this. Praful Ketkar.
Lutian journalists. Don't worry about the handful of Lutian journalists. Worry about the millions of Indians, Arnab. You are with the people, stand with the people. Why are you always
Prafulla Ketkar.
Why are you always talking about that?
Prafulla Ketkar, please. Can't hear.
Spreading a fake news from national channel. Varanasi DM has shown the pictures, shared the videos, he himself eating akhri dal. He is now again claiming that it was a grass that was given to eat them. Isn't it a panic creation? Is it a responsible thing? First Wire did that, then Saira is doing on Republic now. Already FIR is being, registered against the local journalists who filed that story.
A lot of national mainstream.
Sorry, Saira. You should say sorry. You should say
today
sorry.
anyone,
right now.
no,
Right
I'm sorry.
now. You are faking.
One
You are
second.
lying.
No, this came out on a national channel. This came out on a national channel, and you cannot intimidate reporters and journalists by filing these FIRs. I feel the media's job is not to praise. The media's job is to question. If people are dying of hunger, what has gone wrong in the implementation? There's a difference between
I want
policy
to give you a
and
live example of what's going on. I want to question Saira. Saira is on the debate right now on the one side and Shahid Siddiqui on the other. Allow me please, Prafulla Ketkar 1 minute. Prafulla Ketkar 1 minute. Saira, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. Louder please, I can't hear Saira in the studio. Saira, I want you to be quiet for a minute and I will give an example. On the 27th of March, Shahid Siddiqui. Because I think broadly you and I are on the same page, but let me just give an example, sir. On the 27th of March, Saira Shah Halim tweets, and she has a fairly large Twitter following, and this got retweeted many times. I think more people will die in India now of starvation than the coronavirus pandemic itself. This is an utterly irresponsible and alarmist comment aimed at causing more panic among the people. The finance minister allotted 1.7 lakh crores in the greatest pro-poor measure after the pandemic in any country. You said that you are sure that more people will now die of starvation than the coronavirus pandemic. I need you right here, and Smita, let me make it clear, right now, and right at this moment, you either elaborate, base your statement on fact, or issue a national apology.
This is shame.
No, 1 second. I want Saira to respond.
Okay. So firstly, no, can I come in? Yeah. So what I'm saying, Arnab, firstly, when you execute a lockdown, it has to be a well-executed lockdown.
You said that more people are dying of starvation. Tell me.
What is firstly, secondly? Where are the starvation deaths happening in India?
Food grains
where are the starvation deaths? No, don't go firstly, secondly. Where are the starvation deaths happening in India?
1 second, let me talk.
Where are the starvation deaths happening in India? What is firstly, secondly?
The minister had to release funds.
No, it doesn't matter. Where were the starvation deaths?
Smita, louder, I can't hear. No, you have to answer.
Where are the starvation deaths?
You said people are now dying of starvation.
What kind of
answer, Smita, where are the starvation deaths?
People are dying of starvation. Where are the starvation deaths happening in India? Where are the dozens of people dying? You know, where are they? What you are saying is that people are dying of starvation.
Saira, Smita.
Is there any provision that is provided to the migrant workers who are traveling by foot?
This is the kind of bizarre state. Look at how Philip is bustling. She has no answer.
You see the ruckus.
Are they dying of starvation? Are you seeing starvation deaths? Which channel are you seeing it on?
No.
Which website are you seeing it on?
No.
Where are you seeing it? ये कयामत के जो आपको WhatsApp आ रहे हैं, उससे आपको information मिल रही है. इसलिए आप TV expert बन गई हैं.
The rich will survive.
आप TV expert बन गई हैं because of WhatsApp University, which is saying कयामत आ गई है भारत पर. Poor people are not dying of starvation in this country. You are the one who's saying that more people are dying of starvation than COVID.
Have responsibility.
You are who's a cheerleader? You are the one doomsday prediction in this country based on WhatsApp. You yourself said WhatsApp पढ़ के मैंने बताया है. You yourself said कि WhatsApp. अभी आपने बोला कि WhatsApp पढ़ के कयामत आ गई है. You said WhatsApp में आप पढ़ रही हैं कि कयामत.
You apologize, Saira. It was not all. No, one more example I want to give you. Everyone's on the screen. I want to give you one more example. Sambit, listen to this one from Saira. Now then on the 27th of March, the same day, you retweeted a tweet put out by a person called Rohini Singh, which said, The first corona case was reported, this person Rohini Singh says, the first corona case was reported on 30th January.
Another bright spark.
30th January. The whole of February, India spent time in organizing a massive cheerleading squad for Donald Trump and family. If only the government had focused more on this and less on the Motera Stadium and trolling Rahul Gandhi for warning them on corona. So the Vadra family Bhakts wrote this. You retweeted it. I now need to ask you. I now need to ask you. I will take you to task. I now need to ask you. Allow me to ask the question. Did you?
Ecosystem hai,
No. Did you say?
Pura ecosystem.
No. Facts.
Pura ecosystem.
No. One minute. Something before that.
Ecosystem.
No. Ecosystem jo hai. No. Did you say that the government of India was one of the first in the world to start screening of all incoming air passengers, which started around the 17th of January? Followed by suspension of visas and a ban on international flight well ahead of any other country. Why are you spreading fake news? Why are you spreading fake news? Why are you spreading fake news? Why are you doing this now?
Shaira, I don't believe you should be shouting. Shaira, you should not be shouting. Shaira, you should not be shouting. You should listen to others also. Please, Shaira, I request you. Just a second, Shaira. Shaira, just a second. Stop shouting. First, stop shouting. Let's spread positivity. Let's not shout. Just a second. Just a second. No, please, just a second. Give me 50 seconds and then you can have your own say. Or no, please, for all those who are the naysayers.
No, you can't bully me like that. I'm a guest on the program. You can't bully me like
I have not even started speaking, madam. I'm not trying to bully you. Thank you. Can I please speak? Thank you.
No, not you, Dr.
Okay.
Patra. I have a lot of respect
Okay, thank you. Let me have my say, please, ma'am. Let me have my say. Arnab, all these people, can they know the size of this country? Look at the sheer size of this country. Look at the population density of this country. 133 crore people in this country, and look at the way, the daftness with which India has handled this whole thing. Look at what is happening in Spain, in Italy, in America today, and look where we stand today. We really have done a tremendous job. Well, yes, a few scenes like the one which is shown in the middle of the screen is something which we have to worry about. But remember, we don't have to derive sadistic pleasure from this. There is a difference between suggestion and there is a difference between deriving sadistic pleasure from this, from any kind of suggestion. What many people whom you have named right now, Arnab, are trying to do is trying to derive sadistic pleasure. I'll tell you, there is a channel which yesterday tweeted something like 25 crore people in India are going to suffer, and they had named John Hopkins in that. The John Hopkins Institution came up to say that this is none of our research. Please pull down the fake news that you are carrying out. Just imagine a responsible media house fact spreading panic in the country.
Do you agree that your party delayed in the quarantine
just a second, ma'am.
when they had started screening of passengers?
Just a second.
Do you think
okay, I'm answering that. I'm answering that.
Was the quarantine delayed or not delayed?
Okay.
I want an answer.
Thank you, Saira. Thank you. Let us also come in. Rahul on the right. Yeah.
It was not delayed. Even the WHO is praising India. And look at the sheer volume of people, and despite that, look at the less number of cases, thankfully, that India has today compared to some of the major countries like developed countries like US, Spain and Italy. I mean, this shows that India's intervention has been timely, and the steps that we have been taken is timely. And my simple suggestion to people like Saira is, if you don't have anything positive to offer, for God's sake, keep quiet. Don't spread negativity and stop this headmasterly attitude of asking questions every second.
We are helping poor people. We are spreading enough information. We are spreading
enough information by saying that people are going to die of poverty. This is information, Saira. Hello.
I'll give you one more example. I'll give you one more example right now, Sambit. Sambit, let me give you one more example here. I'd like Rahul Singh to come into the debate. Everyone on, listen to me.
There are people who are dying of poverty. Show me a single person who has died of poverty. This is information. Don't call misinformation and fakery as information.
Society is sensitive enough to help the poor. Governments are active enough to help the poor. They don't need panic creators and
India after 18th of
Audio is not clear, Rahul Singh.
Are you going to say sorry for again spreading the fake news about Varanasi?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
You have spread the fake news right
I can
now.
hear you.
I'd like to give an apparent example, viewers. I believe it is I'm not going to name any names because I'm quoting an email. I have not taken the individual's permission to quote the email. However, let me give a very interesting example here. I want you to pay attention to this. Ashish, I'm also coming to you in a minute. You know, a freelance journalist does an interview with a person who claims to be an epidemiologist and a public health expert, etc. The individual is an economist, apparently. Now, that individual goes and basically says that 300 to 500 million Indians will get infected in coronavirus in the subsequent weeks. Therefore, what you're basically saying, this came about 10 days back, we must have all seen it, I'm not quoting who, where. And the freelance journalist says, oh, by hearing this, I'm myself getting scared. Taking it at face value, and this gets beautifully headlined everywhere, that almost 1/3 of India is going to get coronavirus. Now, it's a big thing to make such a claim. This individual then, for some reason, starts connecting with me. This individual who's given this interview, because obviously that platform was not big enough to spread the news to a wider audience. Republic Media Network is a big network, and by putting the same news, you can spread more alarm if this news goes on the Republic Media Network. I tell this individual on the mail, and by the way, the individual then says, it's very interesting how the individual is lobbying to be interviewed. This individual says in the email that the focus, okay, here's the thing. The individual says, when I point out that it is amusing that the individual says in the email, I'm sorry, I'm going to take some time on this. The individual says in the email, my purpose was to explain to people why infections spread and the speed of the infection, which is the issue, and not the overall number of infections per se. Now, this is interesting. The headline everywhere has gone, Smita, that 300 to 500 million Indians will get possibly infected from coronavirus. But when confronted by me, the person says, I really was not focusing on the number, but for God's sake, don't be foolish. The headline was the number. The story was given a clickbaitish headline, and it probably got a lot of views, and that way you get money. The more views, the more money. So if you say all of India will be infected, you probably get more views. It's absolutely, the business of media is so clear. Now, I now want to say, I have told this individual later.
May I come to the...
No, wait. I wrote to that individual saying, I've noted your number, but please remember the number of 300 to 500 million came from you. And I wrote in my email that the facile argument that was not your key thrust is amusing. Now, the individual writes again, I didn't say anything about the number being my key thrust, and then goes on to explain the point and goes to claim that the individual is working with the government. The individual claims to have strong connections in the BJP, writes to me saying I have strong connections with top BJP leaders, trying to even sell political connections to try and get an interview. I'm not naming any individual, but the point here is this. Look at how people are thinking. Rahul saying, do you think we are foolish? We don't know what's going on here. I don't know how to separate fact from fiction anymore.
But this is going to increase or not because of the business model.
May I say?
It's going to increase because of the business model of journalism. What's going to happen now is that just 20 seconds, because there are many newspapers which are now stopping publication or they are not being sent out. So now you will see more commission pieces which will say that lockdown is a bad idea economically. So you will see many saying that India will not be able to survive this lockdown and the lockdown should be lifted and Mr. Modi should lift it. So now the pressure will come from a certain section of media. Watch out from now to the next couple of days, a series of articles which will come out not by medical professionals but by economists, glorified number crunchers. They will come out and say that India will not be able to recover from an economic crackdown, a slowdown because of this decision of Mr. Modi.
Why nonsense?
You watch from today onwards.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I have been seeing the media for the last 6 days. Your cameraman was the first person to enter my house. So I've been on my own here for the last 6 days. I've been watching TV as never before. And I must say that the media in India and abroad has played the most responsible role that I've ever seen.
I'm not talking of the media at all. I'm talking about the people who are spreading a narrative. Please. We are in the media. We're playing a responsible role. Please don't classify us with the clickbait hunters.
Fake media.
Arnab,
we are talking about motivated
the subject
reports,
is the media.
Sir.
The subject.
We are talking about motivated reports.
There might be a few reports like that. No, but on the whole, the media has played a very responsible role.
I am not talking of that media. I'm talking about a narrative.
Who've done a little bit.
I'm talking about a narrative. And my point to you, Rahul, Rahul, I just put a question to you.
No, but that...
No, 1 minute. Rahul, explain to me. You have said, right, I also believe media is playing largely a responsible role. But media has a cascading effect on the whole battle this time. And this is therefore, you directly project what can happen. You have a huge role today. When on the day of the Janta curfew, you put out articles saying empty vessels. When you cause panic among migrant laborers, when you question, even before the lockdown hardly starts, you say, will a lockdown create a supply shock that India cannot afford? So you quickly do a negative piece and analysis. Then when the government's saying put people over economy, you are saying put economy over people. Then you say policy response is not coherent. You create mass panic about shortage of masks. You create a narrative on a class conflict. And you put out an article on the 22nd of March saying India's partial lockdown reeks of caste bias, leaving socially, sexually disadvantaged groups vulnerable. When the government's doing all it can, you are basically doing this. You have some people of some of this group have even encouraged Shaheen Bagh type protests in the middle of the COVID crisis, saying, why expect responsible behavior from oppressed people? This is the kind of article that went. So I am telling you, this article, even before, when this was going on, people were saying, continue Shaheen Bagh. No, I'm sorry. Then some people are villainizing the cops, saying the police people are beating people. The stress of work is no excuse for committing atrocities. So you're villainizing the police. You are encouraging Shaheen Bagh type protests. You are saying there's a caste divide because of the lockdown. You are putting economy above people. You are questioning the need for a lockdown. You are causing panic among migrant laborers. You are saying the curfew is lockdown is an empty vessel. Tell me, sir, do any of these people, any of you have an alternative to a lockdown? Tell me, Rahul, now it's over to you. Show me an alternative.
No, I agree.
Show me an alternative.
I agree with the lockdown. As I told you, I agree. But let me say one thing about the Prime Minister's 2 speeches that he made. Why doesn't he have more active meetings with the press? Why can't he be more interactive with the media?
Sir, he has meeting with the press.
Even Trump.
Sorry, sir.
Sir, he has had. Smita and I were part of one meeting. He's met newspaper owners, he's met newspaper editors, channel editors, everyone.
As well as the electronic media.
Well,
Mr. Rahul, you should be aware about the facts.
It's not being shown on the television.
It was shown by every television channel,
Trump, who hates the media, has been interacting with the media. Why has he not been interacting with the media?
You said that you have been watching television since last 6 days. You might have seen the Prime Minister interacting with the heads of every media house, be it the electronic media, be it the print media, even radio jockeys. He has talked to almost everyone who matters in media, and not only in media, various societies section, doctors, industrialists, etc.
What about a press conference?
You want a press conference where everyone comes to holding, doing away with the social distancing? I mean, this is what you want? That all the reporters should be coming out, doing away with social distancing?
A press conference.
I mean, this is what is a classical case of. This is a classical case of
criticism. Press conference.
No, sir. He has been talking to the concerned people. He has been addressing the nation, sir. More than press conferences, it is taking the people into confidence. Is our Prime Minister not taking every section of the people into confidence? Look, he has been addressing the nation almost every second day, taking everyone into confidence, talking with the corona warriors, talking with the patients who have recovered, talking with the media personnel. I'm astonished that you have criticized the Prime Minister at every aspect.
He has not been interacting with the media.
Let's clearly understand that there is a problem.
Not interacting with the media,
we all are here to understand and give a solution to the people who are suffering the most.
No, 1 second. What is the problem? Ashish, 1 second.
Okay.
1 minute. I'd say, let me put it to Ashish. I'm being told you should have a press conference now. I'll say two things. Let me get Ashish in, not spoken 45 minutes into the program. Let me just get him in 1 minute. I'd say Ashish has been a journalist. I'd say today, Tanveer, and I'm going to Ashish.
Let us really
we need to step. No, 1 second. Doctors are doing their job. The Prime Minister.
So we are not in Lala Land,
people who are suffering the most.
I'm sorry, Tanveer, my friend. I respect you a great deal. Let me tell you, India is not in a Lala Land. Just imagine the sheer size of this country and the way this country is maturely handling the situation. Well, yes, there are a few people who are in Anand Vihar, Bus Adda or in Yamuna Expressway bearing the small percentage of people for whom we are
Ashish is on the debate.
Please, for God's sake, don't call India
Ashish, my own view is the last thing you can accuse the Prime Minister of is not communicating enough. I think the Prime Minister is communicating effectively and as much as any communicator can. Ashish.
I completely agree with you that the Prime Minister or the government cannot be criticized or faulted for lack of communication or for lack of effective communication. There is one point that, Arnab, I would like to make, which has not been made in the debate so far, is that we are not in a normal situation. We are almost in the midst of a war. And there is a code how media has to behave and act in the middle of a war. The nation is at war. The interests of the media and the interest of the government and the interest of the society are all aligned, which is of saving the nation and saving as many lives as you can. Yes, you have to disseminate information. Yes, you have to educate people. Yes, you have to dispel misinformation. And yes, you have to divert efforts towards areas where you think there is some lacuna. But the only motive and the only objective of the media at this point is to save lives, is not to create panic. And when I have heard all the reports that you have cited, including tweets and social media posts, if anybody is speculating that people are going to die of hunger or people are going to die of starvation, that's not just being irresponsible speculation. That's almost like betraying the interests of the society at large.
Yes, hear that, Saira.
There is no scarcity. Every leader, and I must say that political community, chief ministers, politicians of all different stripes and colors, they have acted very, very responsibly. They have not indulged in mudslinging. They have not indulged in criticizing each other. And federal government and the state government, they have almost acted as a team. But for the media, it's okay that you have to criticize media. That time, that the government, but that time will also come. The time of the post-mortem is not today. The time of critiquing government and finding loopholes and finding holes in government's effort is not today. That time will come, and that time will come when the crisis is over. And then you can say that, look, we could have done this better, and this is how we should be prepared for the next pandemic or the next crisis.
Yes.
But today, to indulge in these kind of social media posts, and you are right, and walking with a few laborers and few migrant people on the road and saying that, you know, the India is coming apart, I think that's not even journalism.
Yeah.
That's not good journalism.
You've been a reporter all your life, Ashish, you know.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying as a reporter. You know, when 26/11 happened in Bombay, after that, there was a big discussion how media should act.
Yes.
And today, in the middle of a pandemic, we need to every journalist, everyone who is even pretending to be a journalist and writing a post or sending out a tweet should know that his tweet and his social media post may be misinterpreted by somebody else and create a panic.
Yeah.
And
you know,
today,
I find it also intriguing. I find it also intriguing, Ashish, I will add one line there. Ashish, I find it intriguing that the same people who gave out names of people during 26/11 are among those people who are now saying that India's poor have nowhere to go and that these are great fault lines. I'm just telling you, maybe it's not accidental. My question is this, please.
No,
I also, Ashish, want to make one more point here, which is critical, is about the media's motivations. And Shahid Siddiqui is a veteran journalist. He runs a newspaper, so he knows. Shahid Siddiqui, in America, the media did not support a lockdown because some of them said if we support a lockdown, the economy of our big media corporations, which run into hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes billions of dollars, news media is very big, will also be affected. And let me tell you one thing. I run a fairly large network, right? We would have 1,000 employees. Smita runs a fairly large network. We have expenses which go into many hundreds of crores. I would say today, I am ready to take the hit. I will survive. I will fight. But if the media industry losing money is a consequence of the lockdown, that is more reason to support the lockdown, because we have to decide what our national service is. You know what happened? Because in America, Shahid, and let me explain to you viewers, in big media corporations, and they are huge in America, you know, there are many, many hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of business, you know, anchors who get multi-million-dollar salaries. In America, they didn't support the lockdown because they said, you know, if there's a lockdown in America, then our business will suffer. The media criticized the lockdown. And you know, there was an article out there which was saying Italy's lockdown tests the limits of democracy. Test the limits of democracy. I think it was put out on Bloomberg. No. They said, Smita, let me complete this part, handing it over to you.
In India now.
No. In America, the media criticized the lockdown. Today, that country has over 1 lakh cases. More than 1,500 people have died. The media should stop being selfish and should play its role in nation building at this time. Shahid Siddiqui.
I totally agree, Arnab. Arnab, I have seen 1965. I was in 62. I was 10 years old. I saw that 65 war. I have seen 71 war. I have seen. I have seen how the media has played an important role in keeping the country united. In you know, bringing every section of the society into the effort for the war. And I agree with Ashish. We are in a war, and we have all to come together and see to it how we can contribute. Everyone has to contribute on their own. We can't just look at the government, whether it's Narendra Modi or Kejriwal. Everybody will be contributing.
During
but we will
wars.
have to do that.
Let's not forget that.
And therefore,
no, let's not forget that there are profiteers during wartime.
No, I'm not against
and there will be profiteers at this present time.
I'm not against
One has to watch out for those profiteers, sir. One has to watch out for those profiteers who are going to say that the lockdown is a mistake because it's hurting their business model. The lockdown is hurting their business model, and hence they are going to come there. And they are going to put their business model above nationalism.
I really, for the life of me, want to understand what more we are supposed to do. What more we are supposed to do. How much we are supposed to sacrifice, to give up before the media of this country understands the perils of not coming together. Please, Tanveer, I am making this point very, very simply to you, that unless we all collectively come together now, it will not work. We cannot afford to fail. Do we understand that we cannot afford to fail?
Arnab, we all understand, as Ashish said, that we are on a war and this is not time to criticize. I think I started by saying that this is not the time to criticize or condemn. We would do the evaluation little later. We all need to really fight together. But saying that there is absolutely no problem, everything is taken care, is also irresponsible. There are certain problems, even during the wartime it arises. It is a duty of a responsible media to solve that problem then and there, rather than praising the government. We are not criticizing. We are explaining the government that there are certain areas which you could have done it better, and please do it.
This is not the time.
We can't really afford to lose this battle against COVID, because India is a very populous country. It is not the time. I am standing with the government. I am standing with the Prime Minister of my country. Okay. I am not standing with BJP. I am standing with the Prime Minister of my country. And there are certain people, section of people who are using this as a marketing tool for BJP for next election. I think they need to really stop it now.
Oh my God, Tanveer, this is not done.
Please don't bring elections into this.
I mean, this is.
Yes, there has to be a limit to it, Tanveer. Come on.
Just a second. Mr.
Come on,
Goswami,
Tanveer, play your role.
No, please, I'm aghast that my good friend Tanveer says that some people are using this as a marketing
tool for the next elections. What do you mean?
Elections, for God's sake, these words are very sharp. They are like knives. They are hurting in the chest.
Sir, my very good friend.
So please, Tanveer, let me use a few seconds.
My very good friend Amit Malviya. I think he should stop tweeting. He should stop tweeting. His tweets are nothing but disastrous, disgusting. He's a very good friend of mine. I think Amit Malviya should stop tweeting.
He's not spreading any rumor. Just a second, my friend, let me reply. He's not spreading any rumor. Let me come to the point. Let me tell you as to why the scenes that we are seeing in the middle of the screen. Thousands of people stranded in the street, and let me tell you, most of these people are because of misinformation. Not because of media, but because of social media, but because of WhatsApp, which are trying to spread the misinformation that the lockdown is going to be a longish, hellish affair, that you're not going to get food, and that's the reason as to why you should go to your village. So we should cut down on this kind of misinformation.
Rahul,
I'll tell you,
I'll tell you the dangers of it.
Arnab, just a second. Arnab, just a second. Let me tell you, as far as these naysayers are concerned, if there would have been no lockdown, these people would have been shouting from the top of the roof, Mr. Modi, you are an irresponsible Prime Minister. Why no lockdown? And the moment Mr. Modi brings in a Janta curfew or a lockdown, these people would be shouting, why lockdown? So whatever Mr. Modi or the Indian government does, these sadistic pleasure-deriving people, these naysayers, these pessimistic people will always have an injection of pessimism ready. This we need to do away with.
I'll tell you one example of a newspaper that was criticizing the lockdown in China. It is the paper called The Guardian, which is the favorite newspaper of the Lutyens guys. The Guardian said about the Chinese lockdown, Rahul, and Shahid is on the debate, dissent becomes the next victim of coronavirus as China cracks down. Secondly, it said Beijing's tight control will backfire. You know what happened? China controlled it with the lockdown. And because of newspapers like The Guardian, because of newspapers like The Guardian, there was no lockdown in the UK in time. 15,000 cases. That death toll is rising by hundreds every day.
I agree with you.
You know, you get my point, Shahid Siddiqui. You know, this we have seen Guardian, you know, these papers do the same thing in other parts of the world.
UK was a disaster because of the media.
Because of the media.
Media and the Prime Minister there.
Exactly.
They did not realize they did not realize what they are going through. And they didn't want this lockdown to take place, and today they are suffering, and they will suffer for a long time.
No, and Rahul,
I think lockdown was absolutely essential.
Rahul,
but the explanation which should have come with lockdown, the planning which should have come with lockdown,
Rahul, I'll tell you, in Israel,
and it should come now.
Rahul, in Israel, a fake story of people storming grocery stores on 13 March to buy supplies caused massive panic among the people. Israelis rushed to the supermarkets the very next day. There was a huge shortage of supplies. That has hurt Israel in the battle against corona. I'm again telling about the role of the media, and the reason I'm doing this program today on a Sunday, viewers, is with deliberation. Smita, in Iran, everyone's on, the local media pushed out conspiracy theories like some people here are doing. Instead of focusing on the threat of the virus, they could not effectively do a lockdown. Today, there are over 2,000 people dead in Iran. Now that media, the same media which played the role that some people here are doing, is now not taking any responsibility for 2,000 people who have died. That's why I told Saira, you got to be responsible now, Smita. I mean, the point is...
You can be responsible.
Yes, Rahul, you got to be responsible. You can't be irresponsible.
But you shouldn't suppress the reality.
You can't throttle the fourth
You shouldn't suppress the reality at the same time.
You can... who are reporting that children are dying.
Nobody's throttling the media in this country.
Who's throttling the media?
That's just it. The media is free to report. It's people who are not working with the media.
The reality.
We have guidelines. We have to adhere to. But there are people out there, so-called economists, so-called freelancers, and so-called influencers who are not who don't have to adhere to any guideline. They are the ones who are spreading misinformation.
At the same time, you cannot intimidate journalists who are reporting that there have been starvation deaths, or someone tried to cross the border, someone tried to walk from Delhi to Agra.
There is no starvation deaths.
Where's the starvation deaths? She's back to starvation deaths. You got to tell me today who's died of starvation, or you apologize. Saira, again you are back to starvation deaths. Sorry, who's peddled that lie to you?
Somebody who's repeating a lie.
1 second.
She's back to the starvation death. She's got to prove it.
She's going on spreading this lie.
Delhi to Agra or not?
No, Samit, I don't understand. Where's the starvation death?
There's nobody dying.
You are starving. Saira is starving of positivity. Saira, you need to be feeding yourself with some food for thought, with some positivity, with some optimism. No, you are starving of good thoughts. There's no starvation death in India. For God's sake, don't peddle lies and don't peddle fakery over here. Don't create panic in this country by saying that people are dying of starvation death.
No, I'll tell you where the lie is coming from. Let me tell you today. Let me tell you today, viewers. Should I I tell you the source of Saira's news? Should I tell you the source of Saira's news? Should I, Smita? Should I, Shahid Siddiqui? Should I, Rahul Singh, tell you the source of Saira's news? I will now say it. I will say it. Now, I will speak. I did not want to open my mouth, but I will now speak out loud. Washington Post. America is going to hell, but Washington Post is focusing on India.
Have you read
1 minute, yaar, Saira, now let me speak.
Have you read the Telegraph?
I don't read rags. I don't read rags.
Have you read
I don't read rags.
Or you are here only to champion the Republic?
I will champion the Republic. I will not read rags. I will champion the Republic. Yes, I will champion the Republic. I'm with the Republic. Are you against the Republic? Now listen to me.
No, you have
Washington Post is the source of a news. Saira, isn't the source of your news? Saira, you tweeted. Okay, now let me tell you one thing. Saira, I will completely expose the source of your news. You tweeted on the 25th, did you not?
The Telegraph. They are responsible journalism.
What?
They are responsible journalists, people who are working with the Indian Express, Hindustan Times, The Hindu, and the Telegraph. Today, who doesn't agree with you is an anti-national Arnab. That's your problem. Please stop this self-loathing and this, this, party to the government.
All I know that people nowadays use WhatsApp, not telegraphs anymore. You want to give a telegram anywhere, that's your choice. Telegrams and telegraphs are out of fashion. People are using WhatsApp. I don't know what you're talking about. Now my question is this. The Washington Post, interestingly, puts out a headline saying, while America is falling apart and thousands die there, Washington Post's entire focus is on India. And they say, jobless after virus lockdown, India's poor are struggling to find anything to eat.
Arnab, please
is that your source?
Today's Telegraph. Please read yesterday's Telegraph.
I
read all.
Nobody gets newspapers anymore, yaar. Nobody reads it. The newspapers are not available. Maybe they're available there, where you are.
I will praise
we don't get newspapers. Newspapers are not the source of news anymore.
They are the ones who thought that Rahul Gandhi.
Now my second question.
Arnab, they are the ones who peddled that in 2019 Indians thought that Rahul Gandhi is the ray of hope, is the great white ray of hope. In 2019, they are the ones who peddled that.
No, I tell you one thing. I think the American media. The American media has been absolutely delusional and selfish. Now I'll reduce the volume. I'll say this, viewers. The American media has been selfish. It put its corporate profits above people. The American media has been irresponsible. It opposed the lockdown. And the New York Times put out an article, instead of worrying about what's happening in the New York, Rahul, New York is going to be finally, I think, quarantined, and it's such a terrible situation there. The New York Times, viewers, instead of talking about what is happening in New York, is only interested in what is happening in India. And says, the world's largest quarantine in India will make things worse. The dirty history behind isolating the sick. This is the New York Times. The New York Times, therefore, would be responsible for what's happening in New York. They should focus on what's happening there. Now, this becomes the only source of information for people like Saira. I can't echo that narrative.
No.
I think the BBC is irresponsible. They're saying India defiant as millions struggle under lockdown. Is India defiant, viewers? The BBC is telling you that Indians hate the lockdown. I'm asking you, people of India, today. The BBC is saying coronavirus, India defiant as millions struggle under lockdown. In their own country, a failed lockdown results in 17,000 cases, including their Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, Prince Charles, and their Health Secretary, Matt Hancock. Who the hell are the BBC to tell us what's happening right or wrong in India? We're much better off than them. We will come out stronger than them. But their focus is on what's wrong in India. And I'm telling you, we know what's happening in our country, Shahid Siddiqui, Ashish Khaitan. I think it's time to come together. We cannot be mirroring the wrong narrative of this Western media. I want to get it, Ashish. Ashish, you've been there. You can put a comparison on what's happening.
No, first of all, the foreign media, the Western media, whether it's in the UK or in the US, they look at India from their own ideological prism. And their ideological prism is that India is still very backward, India is still very poor, India is still very unorganized, and they have a particular view of this government. The likes of the Guardians and the Washington Post, they have a particular view of the government. So even in this time of crisis, global crisis, they want to report on India and the Indian government's efforts within that ideological framework. So anything that fits in that ideological framework passes the muster, everything else is shunned out. So that's one problem. The second problem is that when some sections of the Indian media resort in rumor mongering, sensationalism, the kind of headlines, especially the Hindi headlines that you read at the start of the program. Somebody said irresponsible journalism. You cannot suppress the facts. Of course, nobody can suppress the facts. Of course, you are supposed to do responsible journalism. I want to understand the definition of responsible journalism. Today,
Rahul,
the biggest responsibility of every journalist is to save lives, not create panic, assure people and see that the message, the right message reaches the last man in the queue. That there is no shortage of food, there is no shortage of essential supplies, and it is in your best interest that you remain wherever you are and not move around, because you will endanger your life and the lives of others. That's responsible journalism. Not to pick the prejudice of one individual walking on the road and portrays that the whole nation is in the middle of a breakdown. The nation has responded to this crisis very responsibly, and I think sections of the media also need to realize that they have to do their bit. As I said, there will be a time to do post-mortem, and it is important to do that post-mortem, but that time is not today. That time will arise when this crisis is over. And then you can say that the government could have done these things better, or the government should not have done these things, and this is how we should be prepared for the next pandemic.
Rahul,
but today, we all
Rahul,
have
5 minutes to close. Rahul, 5 minutes to close. I would add and tell you this, that if the media fails now, you know, this is a battle, viewers. The media needs to apply the same protocol they use in a war. Because if they don't now, then let me tell you, if the 100% lockdown is not ensured, we will see a situation like Italy, where 10,000 people have died and there are 889 deaths in one day.
Mr. Goswami,
Rahul first and then Sabir.
For the lockdown, but I'm not for suppressing the reality. I'm all for the lockdown, but I disagree with. I disagree with Ashish when he says.
Rahul, just a second.
Ashish and Rahul, he's responding to Ashish.
It is better to have a living problem than a dead one. For all those naysayers who are saying that economy is more important than our health, it is better to have a living problem than a dead one. If you and I live, we can always recreate an economy. If we don't live, we won't need an economy tomorrow, number one. And number two, remember, Mr. Goswami, there have been journalists in this country who in the past have said that it was a great day when a bomb blast happened, when the parliament was attacked, and we are like vultures feeding on the misery of people. For God's sake, with folded hands, I pray upon everyone, journalists or not, in social media or otherwise, for God's sake, let's not act as vultures feeding upon others' miseries. Please, let's be like angels trying to save people, trying to spread optimism and trying to spread good news.
Rahul?
No, I'm not saying that you try to spread
the media is not like vultures. I'm sorry to say. The media is not like vultures.
Channelize government's efforts where there is a requirement. If there are areas, there are regions, there are places where government efforts are not reaching. One second, Samit, one second. I'm not saying that spread false optimism. If there are areas, there are places, there are regions, there are sections of the society who are not receiving the necessary supplies, who are not getting the right information, then the job of the media is to use those facts to channelize government's efforts in that direction towards those people. Direct governments and channelize society's efforts to help the poor. That's what I'm saying. Don't use facts to create panic.
If thousands of people are going on foot,
we have been showing the gaps. We have been showing the gaps. We've been pointing out the flaws. At Republic, we've been talking about where the lockdown has not been successful. All that I'm saying is I feel that the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever long, all we need to do is help to flatten the curve. Simple.
Reality.
Rahul, why don't you?
Don't suppress the reality.
Who is suppressing the reality? I would only want to flatten the curve. That's the reality. Shahid Rahul. Extending 2 minutes. Shahid Rahul.
What is to be done? You know, what is to be done? And how, it is also the job of the media to educate the people in the simplest possible language so that people understand the threat. People also are not panicked. People know from where they are going to get the help, how it is going to come to them. So that education is extremely important, and that media can do. And it should be done in the, again I will say, it should be done in the language of the common man, not of the language of the middle class, educated middle class. Because common man is not understanding what the real threat is. We do understand, but they don't. So we have to go to them.
Of course,
therefore,
I
think Republic TV will do a great job.
You can't call them vultures.
Do it again and again and again.
Sahid bhai, a word of compliment for you on a lighter note. You said that we have seen all the wars. मेरा सवाल है कि आपका तो एज पता नहीं चलता है, कौन सा हेयर डाई लगाते हो, जाते जाते ये बता के जाना आप.
I'll be 70 on 15th August this year. I'll be 70 years.
Compliment.
Arnab,
Compliment.
I'll be 70 years old on 15th August. Yes.
Okay, viewers.
I brought out my paper in 1970 when I was a student of second year.
Well done,
years of my journalism.
Absolutely. I will, viewers, tell you one thing, that my sincere takeaway at the very end, which I will say, is that
I am threatened more by COVID.
This is a battle that involves us all. We need to, again, I repeat, apply the same protocol in our reporting that we use in a war, because we don't have a choice. We need to win this. Viewers, tell me if you like the Sunday debate today. And remember, the non-stop, continuous coverage at this difficult time will be always and always real news on the Republic Media Network. For now, thank you for joining, and goodbye.